Yeah. I wish we didn't have to do these. I don't like them.
You know, people are going to say what they're going to say, and you just kind of roll with it.
It's wild how a family that once stood as the face of plural marriage on TV could fall apart so completely, right in front of millions. The Browns were supposed to be unbreakable, a team, a tribe, a living example of how love and faith could hold even the most complicated family together. But what we saw instead was a slow motion train wreck with secrets, shifting loyalties, and a level of manipulation that left viewers stunned. The truth is, the collapse of the Brown family wasn't just about heartbreak or growing apart. It was about power, control, and the way one person's influence can quietly unravel everything a family once stood for. Hi, friends, I'm Sarah, and this is TLC Sister Wives Daily. If you're as obsessed with the drama as I am, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know, who do you think is really to blame for the Browns' downfall? Let's get real about the main players. Cody, the self-appointed leader who always seemed to need the spotlight. Robyn, the so-called peacemaker whose actions spoke louder than her words. Christine, who finally said enough and walked away. Janelle, the steady one who quietly built her own life. And Mary, who endured more heartbreak than anyone should have to. This isn't just a story about a family breaking up. It's about what happens when control slips away and the truth finally comes out. Back in the early days, the Browns looked like a united front. Cody was the center of it all, the one who set the rules, made the big decisions, and expected everyone to fall in line. He talked a lot about fairness and balance, but it was clear from the start that he liked being in charge. The wives had their own homes, but everything revolved around Cody's schedule, his approval, and his vision of what the family should be. There was this unspoken rule that Cody's word was final, and for a long time, everyone played along, even when it hurt. But cracks started to show, and they weren't just about jealousy or the usual struggles of plural marriage. Christine, for years, tried to be the cheerful, supportive wife, always putting the family first. But you could see her spirit fading, especially in those later seasons. The moment she packed up Cody's things and told him she was done, it was like watching someone finally break free after years of holding their breath. She didn't just leave a marriage, she left a system that never really valued her voice. That scene where she took off her wedding ring and said she was done, that was real. You could feel the weight lift off her. Janelle's journey was quieter, but just as powerful. She was always the practical one, the one who worked outside the home and kept things running. But as the years went on, you could see her pulling away. She started making decisions for herself, focusing on her own kids, her own business, her own future. When she told Cody she wasn't going to keep fighting for a relationship that didn't feel equal, it was a turning point. She stopped waiting for his approval and started living on her own terms. And then there's Mary. Her story is heartbreaking. She was the first wife, the one who gave up her legal marriage so Cody could marry Robyn. She tried to stay loyal even after the catfishing scandal and years of feeling pushed aside. But you could see the pain in her eyes every time Cody dismissed her or made her feel like an outsider. Mary's journey was about survival, about holding on even when it was clear she was no longer wanted. As each wife found her own strength, Cody's grip on the family slipped. The old rules didn't work anymore. The women stopped asking for permission and started making choices for themselves. That's when everything changed. When Robyn first joined the family, everything changed. At first, she was presented as the fresh start, the new energy, the one who would bring everyone closer together. Cody was absolutely smitten, and it showed. The other wives tried to welcome her, but it was obvious from the beginning that Robyn was different. She didn't just want to fit in, she wanted to be at the center. The show captured those early moments, like when Cody would drive hours just to see her, or when he seemed to light up in a way he never did with the others. The balance that had held the family together started to tilt, and it never really recovered. Robyn's influence grew quickly. She was the first wife to have a legal marriage with Cody after Mary gave up her own status. That move alone sent shockwaves through the family. Suddenly, Robyn had a level of security and authority the others didn't. She started making decisions with Cody, not just about her own kids, but about the whole family. You could see it in the way holidays were planned, how the kids' needs were prioritized, and even in the way Cody spent his time. He was at Robin's house more than anywhere else, and the cameras caught the tension every time he left another wife's home early or showed up late. The other wives felt it too. Christine talked openly about feeling like an outsider, especially when it came to big family decisions. Janelle, who always tried to keep the peace, started to pull back. She focused more on her own children and less on the group. Mary, already on shaky ground, found herself even more isolated. There were scenes where she'd be left out of group texts or not invited to family gatherings. The message was clear. Robyn's household was now the center of Cody's world. Robyn often claimed she wanted unity, but her actions told a different story. She was quick to defend her own interests, sometimes at the expense of the other wives. When disagreements came up, Robyn and Cody would present a united front, making it nearly impossible for the others to have a real say. The family that once prided itself on equality and shared decision-making was now revolving around one house, one wife, and one set of priorities. The shift was subtle at first, but by the time the cracks became obvious, the old family dynamic was gone. The other wives weren't just losing their husband, they were losing the family they'd built for decades. Robyn has always been careful with her words, painting herself as the peacemaker, the one who just wants everyone to get along. But the show tells a different story. Time and again, her actions have contradicted her claims. She's said she wants the family to be close, but when it comes to actually including the other wives or their kids, there's always a reason it can't happen. Remember the scene where she insisted the family couldn't gather because it wasn't safe? She blamed COVID, then later admitted it was really about avoiding conflict. The rules always seemed to shift depending on what worked best for her household. When the other wives tried to organize visits or holidays, Robyn would raise concerns or set conditions that made it nearly impossible. There's also the way she handled the topic of more children. Robyn would get emotional about her own fertility, talking about visions of future babies. But when Cody brought up the idea of having another child, she bristled and made it clear the conversation was off limits, unless it was on her terms. She was quick to insert herself into the other wives' struggles, especially when it came to Mary's heartbreak over infertility. But the moment the spotlight turned to her, she shut it down. The double standard was hard to miss. Cody, meanwhile, has rewritten his own story so many times it's hard to keep track. One episode, he's heartbroken, claiming he did everything he could to save his marriages. The next, he's saying he never really loved Christine, or that she blindsided him by leaving. He's played the victim, the martyr, the misunderstood husband who just wanted loyalty. But the footage tells a different story. When Christine finally left, Cody's anger wasn't about losing a partner. It was about losing control. He was furious that she took the house, the contract, and the spotlight. His heartbreak looked a lot more like wounded pride. Both Cody and Robyn have leaned into this narrative that they're the ones being wronged, that the family fell apart because the others just wouldn't cooperate. But the show is full of moments where they twist the facts, ignore their own choices, and blame everyone else for the fallout. It's a kind of revisionist history, one where they're always the victims and never the cause. The real story, though, is written all over the faces of the wives and kids who finally stopped playing along. When Christine finally walked away, it was more than just a breakup. It was a declaration of independence. She packed up her life in Flagstaff, took her youngest daughter, Truly, and started over in Utah. The cameras followed her as she found her own place, reconnected with her older kids, and even started a new relationship. Christine's energy changed. She looked lighter, happier, and more herself than she had in years. She launched her own cooking show, started writing a book, and showed viewers what it looks like to reclaim your life after years of feeling invisible. Her story became a rallying point for anyone who's ever felt stuck in a situation that no longer serves them. Janelle's path was different, but just as inspiring. She'd always been the practical one, the steady hand in the chaos, but as the family fractured, she started building something for herself. She invested in her own business, talked openly about her financial goals, and even bought land with the hope of creating a future for her kids. Janelle's scenes with her sons were some of the most honest on the show, full of real talk about loyalty, disappointment, and what it means to stand up for yourself. She stopped waiting for Cody to show up and started making her own plans. The old dynamic where she played second or third to someone else's needs was gone. Mary's journey was the most painful to watch. She tried for years to hold on, even after the catfishing scandal and Cody's repeated rejections. She poured her energy into her bed and breakfast, tried new business ventures, and kept reaching out to the family, hoping for a place at the table. But the more she tried, the clearer it became that she was on her own. Mary's story is about survival, about finding dignity in the face of public heartbreak, and about learning to let go when the love just isn't there anymore. As the wives found their own paths, the original appeal of Sister Wives faded. The big family gatherings, the shared holidays, the sense of unity, it all fell apart. The kids felt it too. Some of the older children distanced themselves, choosing to build their own lives away from the drama. The younger ones watched as the family they grew up in splintered. What started as a show about togetherness ended up as a lesson in what happens when people finally choose themselves over a broken system. The emotional fallout was real, and it touched every single member of the Brown family. Now, with the dust settling and the family scattered, the Browns look nothing like the group that first stepped onto our screens. Recent episodes show a family that's barely holding together by a thread. Cody and Robyn are left in Flagstaff, living what's basically a monogamous marriage while the rest of the family has moved on. The big group scenes are gone. There's no more pretending that everyone's on the same page. The tension is out in the open, and the old sense of unity is just a memory. Cody spends most of his time at Robyn's house, and the other wives have carved out lives that don't include him. Christine is thriving in Utah, surrounded by her kids and grandkids, building a new relationship and sharing her journey with fans. Janelle is focused on her business, her land, and her children. Mary, after years of heartbreak, is finally putting herself first, even if it means stepping away from the family that defined her for so long. The show's original hook, the challenge and beauty of plural marriage, just isn't there anymore. What's left is a fractured family with most of the emotional weight falling on the women who chose to walk away. So, what does that mean for Sister Wives? Can the show survive when the core dynamic is gone? Fans are asking if this is the final season, and honestly, it's a fair question. Watching Cody and Robyn try to keep the story going without the other wives feels hollow. The drama that once came from balancing four marriages has been replaced by awkward silences and forced conversations. The magic is gone, and even the most loyal viewers can feel it. There's talk about spin-offs, and it wouldn't be surprising if TLC followed Christine, Janelle, or even Mary into their new lives. Christine's cooking show already has a following, and fans are invested in her happiness. Janelle's journey toward independence and financial freedom could easily fill a season on its own. Mary's story of resilience and reinvention is just as compelling. The appetite for these women's stories is still strong, but it's clear that the era of the Brown family as one big united group is over. The show that started as a look at the possibilities of plural marriage has become a story about what happens when people finally choose themselves. The question now isn't whether the Browns can fix what's broken, it's whether there's anything left worth saving. Watching the Browns fall apart on national television has been a lesson in what happens when control and manipulation take the place of real connection. For years, the family tried to present a united front, but the cracks were always there, hidden behind forced smiles and carefully edited scenes. In the end, it wasn't just about plural marriage or religious beliefs. It was about people fighting for their own voices, their own happiness, and the right to live without being controlled. Christine, Janelle, and Mary showed what it looks like to walk away from something that no longer serves you, even when it's painful and messy. Their stories are about courage, about choosing autonomy over comfort, and about the cost of staying silent for too long. I'm Sarah, and this is TLC Sister Wives Daily. Thank you for sticking with me through all the twists and turns of this family's journey. I want to hear from you. Do you think the Browns could ever find real peace? Or is the damage just too deep? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe if you want more honest, no-nonsense takes on your favorite reality TV families. As the cameras fade and the family goes their separate ways, one question lingers. Was it ever really about love, or was it always about control? I'll be here watching every episode, ready to break it all down with you.